Hey everybody, Bonehead for the Bonehead podcast, and we've got more Blood Bowl goodness. Clearly Games Workshop woke up this week and said, I remember Blood Bowl. Now, it's not a new team, it's not a new edition, but it is a couple of models that we've been waiting for. So if we mooch on over to the Warhammer community, you can see right there, look at that, 2 Blood Bowl articles. Now, the first one, the FAQ, that video I did this morning, and it's gone out to patrons and YouTube members, but we'll be going live later on today. So the Spiked and Treeman walk out onto the gridiron, the Maple Highgrove and models are sneaking out now as a bit of breaking news, which I think is very, very, very cool. So a Spiked and Treeman walk out onto the gridiron. Today's star players include a perfectly normal sized Spiked and a towering Treeman. They say that from tiny acorns do mighty oaks grow, Jim, but where did Treeman come from? We don't need to know that. There's no shortage of weird and wonderful players in the world of Blood Bowl, and gridirons across the world have been trampled by hulking Treemen standing firm on the centre line, often hurling halflings in the general direction of the touchline. We can only assume that the green grass of a NAF regulation pitch makes these lumbering lumberlouts feel like they have a certain affinity to the game, which means that star players like Maple Highgrove are a common sight. This fact also goes some way to explaining the appearance of Swift-Vine Glimmershard. There you go. So we've got first look at 2 of the models. So Maple is a movement 3, strength 5 Treeman star with tentacles and the ability to block at range. Maple is the Treeman that can block 1 square away, I think once per half or something like that. Can't remember exactly the rules. The rules for these 2 came out in the almanac, the 2024 almanac that was released at the beginning of this year. And Maple was in the gnome team that went 5-0 at Beachhead this year and took it all. So very cool to see a proper model for Maple. And judging that they are on a 40mm base, that is a very tall Treeman, which is a very cool model. And there's also Swift-Vine Glimmershard, who is the little teleporting stabby fairy spiked from like Wood Elf realms, basically. A mischievous spiked who's prickly as a rosebush. Glimmershard's debut with the Dar Elarath beech trees infamously ended in a pitch littered with corpses, as players and fans alike learned to their horror that she will not stand for being called cute, small, or adorable, let alone being referred to as a fairy. Well, oops. Her temper tantrums have become the stuff of legend in the Blood Bowl world. Each furious outburst, seeing her flit towards the last player to have slighted her, giving them a nasty stab, floating off, sometimes even towards the ball if the mood so takes her. So this is Swift-Vine Glimmershard's special ability. Once per half, so long as she is standing at the start of her activation, Swift-Vine can place herself adjacent to a standing opposition player within 3 squares of her and immediately make a stab special action against them. She may then place herself in an unoccupied square within 3 squares of her new position. Her activation then immediately ends. This counts as the team's blitz action for the turn. So once per half, she can kind of bamf 6 squares and make a little stab on the go, which is very cool. I've yet to see anyone combo out with it to a point where you think, ooh, this is really risky, but it's still very interesting. It's like when Ivar came out. Any of these star players that come out with a power that affects movement, it becomes really interesting for the game. So I'm well on board with that. Quite why she turns up to matches seemingly without so much as a vague interest in touchdowns is a mystery to all but the most wizened of Blood Bowl philosophers. Nevertheless, for 110 gold pieces, teams in the Halfling Thimble Cup and Elven Kingdom Eve can recruit her to increase an extremely long tally of casualties. Unlike this fiery tempered fae, sweet-natured spite, Maple Highgrove is a decidedly calmer and more convivial fella for the most part. As an inquisitive young sapling, he set out to explore the world and one day stumbled across the wood elves of the Greenglade Rooters practicing for an upcoming match. Enchanted by their display of violence and sportsmanship, he asked if they could teach him how to play. We've got some artwork. The rest is history, as Maple has blossomed into quite the star player. His vicious vines allow him to make a block action against distant players, something that many have declared as extremely unfair seconds before being savagely mangled. Teams playing in the Halfling Thimble Cup, the Elven Kingdoms League and the Old World Classic can all hire this viciously verdant star player for just 210 gold pieces and a bag of quality fertilizer. Both miniatures are made from Forge World resin and will be available to pre-order very soon in a double pack. Rules and background information for both players can be found in the box and in Blood Bowl Spike Presents 2024 Almanac. Alright, okay, so 2-star players that we have been pending on, and we've got the models. So Swiftfine is Swiftfine is a very cool model. You got the little rose petal, you got the little rose bud there, and yeah, I really like the addition of both of these star players to the game. Slightly different rules, slightly different setups. The potential of players being able to use them, coaches being able to use them to kind of combo out and do something different without it being completely unfun, I think is a really cool thing. So I think they nailed it with both these star players, and I actually think these are two of the nicest star player models we've had in a really long time. They both absolutely nail the art, which is, in fact, this is better than the art. So this is the art for Swiftmine, and our actual model has got the kind of the cheeky fey grin, the talons which you stab with, just, yeah, really cool. And an old willow is a very tall, chonky tree. Looks very Sylvaneth. Looks very kind of like, for those of you who out there who've made your treatment out of the treekin, no, whatever they called, the Kernoth hunters. Same kind of thing, kind of shoulder pads. Very, very cool models. Big fan. Nice to see some models dropping out from Games Workshop. So we've had the FAQ this week, and now we've got 2-star player models. I think, guys, I think that wraps up all of the star players. I think those are the last 2 models that we're waiting on. I think everybody is out now, which is pretty impressive. So there you go, Games Workshop. You completed Blood Bowl. You've dropped the FAQ. You've said that Blood Bowl is in a really good place. I look forward to seeing what you come up with next, because I think if you're at a point now where you're happy with the game, you've got High Elves to redo, you've got Tomb Kings to redo, it's nearly June, we're ready for some Blood Bowl news. You've completed the star players and done a very good job on them. Now it is time for some proper Blood Bowl news. And when we're looking at kind of like the previews and stuff like that, I don't see anything coming up on the calendar anytime soon that makes me think there's going to be this show that's going to have this reveal or anything. Do let me know in the comments if there's something coming up that I've not thought about. Obviously, it's UK Games Expo this weekend. Right now? Maybe. Nah. I don't know. I'm like, ooh, we've had 2 bits of Blood Bowl news. Maybe we'll get a 3rd piece of Blood Bowl news, but I don't think that's likely to happen. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think, and we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking.